So as you might have seen earlier, I got the RG Play Kit around Christmas and I really haven't tried it that much, but lately I've been using it a bit and I think I would like to give an honest review about this product because I don't really see that this much here on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet. I see some kind of reviews, but I think that they are paid for, at least it seems like they are paid for, and I don't really think that they are giving an honest review about this product. So anyway, I hope you can use this video and it will help you decide if you should ever invest in the RG Play Kit. Let's get into it. So I set up the RG Play slider here on the tripod and the light stand, so it should be really stable so we can test out the speed and also how smooth the movement is of the slider. So these are the most important things, I think, when you have a slider: the smoothness of the motion and also how fast and how slow it can go. Especially how slow it can go, because when you do product photography, you want the slider and also a rotator to be able to go really slow so you can use it when you're going to edit, because you can always speed up this footage and make it faster if you need to, but you can be limited by the frame rate you shoot in if it's not slow enough and you have to slow it down. So having a really slow slider and also really slow rotator is really key here. So down here I set up this cheap Amazon rotator that we will use when I'm using the RG Play Kit slider, so we can kind of imitate a real product shoot. I also set up a blue backdrop and a light. The light is not going to be perfect. I should probably diffuse it more if this was a real shot or shoot, but it is not. It's just so that we can get a feeling of how the slider works and the rotator works here from RG Play Kit. So this will do pretty fine. So what we'll do here is that I will set the slider to push in and push out, so we can see how the motion is and also how slow the slider can go, as we said. And afterwards I will do this with a manual newer slider as well, so we have something to compare with. And if you ever used a manual slider, you know it's not actually that easy to get a slow and steady shot movement, but I will do my best and we will try to compare them. So anyway, let's just first see the RG Play Kit slider in action here. We will start it now and we will try to push in and pull out with different speeds and we will see how it performs. So I actually think it can go pretty slow, the slider here, which is really nice, as I said earlier. So yeah, that's a plus. And I will let you decide on the smoothness here. What do you think? Is it smooth? Is it smooth enough? Or are you not that impressed? So up next will be my attempt with the manual slider. I'll be trying to push in and pull out as well. And also I will be doing this little trick where I take some rubber bands and use that as a sort of a lever to try to make the movement more smooth, and we will see how this goes as well. So I also did this manual slider shot in slow motion, and you might think that this is cheating, but first of all, it is really hard to control a manual slider if you're not super trained in this, which I am not. So to help myself out and be able to get a smoother shot, I did this in slow motion as well. And yeah, you might think this is cheating, but this is also just to show you what kind of results you can get without an expensive motorized slider, but just using a cheap newer slider that I bought from Amazon. So what do you think? Did I do better than the slider, or is it worse? We can do a side-by-side comparison here so you can see the differences between the two kind of motions. So to test the strength of the RG Play Kit, we're going to set this up now. We will do a vertical move going from the bottom and straight up and down again to see how the slider performs. And the idea is to get a close-up of the bottle as the camera goes up and down, and we will see how this looks as well. RG Play Kit do this on the tutorial side, so why not just try to see if we can do this ourselves. So this is here, the clamps that came with the slider works really well because you can attach them to the slider and then you can attach them to a light stand. And then you have the possibility to do this vertical movement, which is really nice. I do say that it's a bit unhandy to attach the slider to the light stand because you have to hold it in one hand and it's quite heavy. Then you have to control the lever on the clamp to attach it, which is not that easy. But in the end it works, and when you first have it on the light stand, I think it goes nowhere. So yeah, it works well. Now let's see how it performs. I actually think the slider did fairly okay here. It did not seem to have any kind of issues going up or down. So that is really nice to see that it has the power to do this. Not all sliders do that. For the smoothness again, I will let you decide if you think it is good or not. And then we will jump into the manual slider and I will see if I can pull this kind of shot off. So to do this, I had to attach the manual slider to my tripod, because that is how you would do it. But the setup is not totally equivalent to the one before, but I think it is fair to say that this is close enough. And of course I also did this in slow motion, just to be safe. And we can see that as well, and then we can try to compare the shots side by side. So for the last setup we will do something similar, but this time we will do the vertical movement with the camera on the top, looking down like a bird's eye view, and we will see how this goes and how smooth we can make this. So I made the same kind of movement with the manual slider, and yeah, we can try to see how this goes. So I wouldn't say it's easy to do this, but you can definitely perform this if you do it a lot. I'll let you be the judge if I did it better than the slider, and now we can try to compare these next to each other here on the screen. So now we have seen the different shots here on the screen, but it's time for my takeaways and conclusion on this product. Let's start with the pros, just to be nice, and I will start to talk about the slider and also the motor in general. I think if you have the whole setup with all the accessories you can get for this RG Play Kit, with the optimization and combining them together, you can do some shots that it will be hard to perform elsewhere. So I think that the idea for this is really nice, and it has potential, I will say that, so that's a good thing. Also, the material of the devices seems to be pretty sturdy and well built, so I don't think they will break that easy. I must say though that I don't know where you can buy spare parts, so for instance the belt on the slider, if that breaks, I'm not sure if you can get a replacement, and I'm not sure how much that would cost if you can get it. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Also, I think even though they have put a lot of spare screws with this product, which is nice, they didn't put spares for the parts that are really important, like the little extension thing that you put between the rotator and the plate. If you lose this, then you are in trouble. And also the thing you attach the belt to onto the motor, you don't have more than one of these, and I could also see this one disappear, and then you cannot use the slider at all. So yeah, a little sad, but that's how it is. So talking about the accessories, as I said earlier, I think the clamps are really nice. They give you some leverage if you want to attach the product elsewhere, like on a light stand or to a table or something like that. So I think that these are really nice to get along with the product. So yeah, good job. So also a really nice thing is that the motor is really strong. I think that it's nice to see that you can perform these vertical movements, and I guess it wouldn't be a problem to do like diagonal movements, so that's a good thing as well. If you want to do movements like this, it is possible to do with the slider. So a last positive thing here is that the slow speed on the slider is really good because, as I said earlier, then you can do the push in and pull outs really slow, and it's possible for you to use this footage when you are going to edit, and it's possible for you to just use the really slowed down slider, push in and pull outs, and you can speed it up, and then you have a lot of in-between room that you can use in your edits, which is really nice. So these were actually the most positive things that I could say about the product at the moment. This of course might change during time, but at the moment this is it, and we will jump over to some of the more negative parts, some of the cons, which I think are somewhat more important than the pros that I've mentioned until now. But yeah, I will let you decide what you think. So a con, but still a smaller con, is that you have to connect through Wi-Fi and your phone. This will take your phone out, so you don't have the phone to use for anything else. And also, it is a bit annoying that it's the only way that you can control the slider and the rotator, because sometimes you might have dialed in what you want and you just want to start it and stop it, but you cannot do this without the app. Yeah, then you need to be connected to Wi-Fi as well. If you lose the connection to the Wi-Fi net and you have your phone set up to connect automatically to another kind of network that you might be around, then it will jump to that and you have to reconnect to the app and the Wi-Fi again, which is, yeah, not fun to do. So I really think that they should just make some sort of remote where you can control this. It would be really nice just to have this. So anyway, you might think that this is not a really big deal, but hear me out and I will tell you why I think this is a big deal. Because in the app at the moment there is no way to stop the motion. So if you set the app to do, let's say, 5 slides in and out at a certain speed, and you decide this is too fast or too slow, you cannot stop it. So what you have to do is actually unplug the electricity to the motor, and then you have to plug it in again, and that's the only way you can stop it. And if you do this, then you lose your Wi-Fi connection to the device and you have to reconnect again. And it's just annoying. And also, if you, for instance, like I did a couple of times, you have the part where you put the camera on the slider in the middle of the slider and you set the travel distance too long, then it will come to the end and it will keep trying to move, but it cannot because the way is blocked. So it will keep pushing and pushing and pushing and putting a lot of stress on the motor and potentially damage it. And yeah, you cannot stop this without unplugging. So yeah, it's really bad. Of course, this should be easy to fix, I think, just to make some sort of stop the motion in the app. So I hope RG Play Kit will do that. Also, I find it kind of annoying that when you set up the movement and you press the little play button up in the right corner, it does not start. It will take you to another screen where you have to tap the screen to start the motion. This is just one more button to push before the things activates. If you ask me, they should make this one press lesser, because this will just make it faster. So another bad thing here is that you need a lot of motors to make this work. You need one motor for each accessory you have. And for instance, RG Play Kit did sell me a slider without a motor. They sell this product without a motor, which really doesn't make sense because you cannot use the slider without a motor. So at the moment I only have one motor for both the slider and the rotator, which makes one of the accessories useless because yeah, I can only use one motor at a time. And yeah, switching around is also a bit of a hassle because you need to unscrew all these parts and plug it in again to the other part and screw it in. This just isn't that easy, and it's just an annoying thing that will make you not use this or switch around between the devices. And if you want to buy a rotator separately, it is quite hard to do so because I could not find anywhere on the RG Play Kit where you could buy a rotator. But what I did actually was I wrote them because I couldn't understand why there was no rotator with the slider. And they told me they were really sorry because I didn't understand this, because this is just how it is, they say. And then they sent me a link to another page where you can find accessories like just the slider or just the rotator or any other of the devices that they sell. So, but this isn't, at least I cannot find this on the homepage. So it is not that accessible, which is kind of strange. Selling these devices takes me to the next point because I think these devices are way too expensive. Like the rotator or the motor itself costs $349 US. And if we just talk about the slider itself, it costs $599 US. And yeah, you need the motor as well. So these two combined are like $950, which is a lot of money, I think, when you compare to what you actually get. You could buy an Edelkrone slider for this kind of money. So yeah, I really think this is too expensive. And as I said, if you need to connect this to other devices, you need more motors, which will just make this setup even more expensive. So another bad thing, I think, is that you do not get any kind of carry device, no bags or anything, so you cannot really pack the whole setup down. You need to keep it in the boxes. You cannot really fold the slider in any way because it's long and sturdy. So yeah, it's not that easy to take with you if you want to use it elsewhere. And talking about using it elsewhere, this is not really possible because you have to have access to electricity. So you cannot take the slider with you outside and use it if you want to, because you need to plug it into a wall socket. And yeah, this just makes the device less useful than other kind of sliders that have sort of a battery. Another reason why the slider doesn't really work for anything else than product shots is that it really has a really hard and annoying sound. So it will not be possible for you to like use it for an interview or a talking head like here, because the sound will destroy the audio that you're trying to record. So yeah, that's really sad. Yet another thing that makes this not useful for anything else than product shots is that the app does not support anything else like time-lapse or tracking or anything like this. So what you really only get is a slider that you can animate to go forward and backward. And yeah, these kind of modes is something that you usually get with another kind of slider. So you have to consider what you are getting for the money you're paying. And the last thing I think here is the smoothness of the slider. Don't know what you think when you saw the clips, but I don't think that the smoothness is that good to be this pricey. I do think it is a bit chunky sometimes, and this is not really what you want. If you have a motorized slider, then you want something that is constant and good to use. So yeah, really not a good thing to have like this. So when it comes to the rotator, I think that actually this is totally useless. And I know that this is a bit harsh, but let me tell you why. Let's just give it a plus first to be nice and not too harsh on RG Play Kit. So one really nice thing about the rotator is that they made these kind of templates that you can print out and put on the plate device that will make it easier for you to place your product in the center of the plate. And this will make it easier for you to do a spin where the axis of the spin is in the center of the product, which will make it easier for you in post when you have to use the clip. So this is actually pretty nice, but yeah, this is just a piece of paper, so quite easy to make. Great, we said something positive, let's go on to the negative part here. Because the slowest part of the rotator is really not slow enough. As I mentioned earlier, you want it to be really slow so you can speed it up in posts, and then you have a lot of leverage to work in between. But this is not the case for the rotator. It spins around way too fast. I cannot remember how fast it goes for one turn, but I will put it here when I check it again. And this is just too fast for me, I think. You need it to be slower, and you cannot change it at the moment. Perhaps you can do this in the future through an upgrade of the software, but I'm not sure this is possible, but let's see. But at least for now, this is really not useful in any way for me. Also, the fastest speed of the rotator is insanely fast. I don't know why I would use this kind of speed. So another thing that makes the rotator really bad is that it does not rotate in a constant way. It kind of stops down a bit and then it speeds up a bit, which is really bad because of course you want an even and constant movement when you're using the rotator. That is the whole point of it. So I honestly think that this rotator, this really cheap rotator from Amazon is better than the rotator that you pay a lot of money for. I cannot animate it, but yeah, it costs like $20, and the rotator from RG Play Kit costs $350. Which do you prefer? The really expensive one that you cannot rely on in any way, or the really cheap one that you actually can rely on? So this was my really honest review on the RG Play Kit, where I did not get the product for free, or I was not paid anything by RG Play Kit to talk about the product. This is really just my honest opinion using the product and seeing how it performs, to you. So if you ever consider buying into this kind of product or system of RG play kit devices, then you have something to take into it if you think that it would be worth the money. But yeah, if you're looking into buying a motorized slider or a rotator, you might have guessed it, I do not think you should buy this RG play kit. I really think that you can find better options out there on the market. There are a lot of good reviews here on YouTube on the OC Onion, for instance, or another slider I cannot remember right now, but I will link it down below, from a Spanish company, where you get some sort of panning device that you can put on top of the slider as well. That will give you a lot of cool way to use the slider that you do not get with this app. And also these kind of sliders that you can get on Amazon as well have time-lapse mode and do not sound like a horse being kicked in the ass. Yeah, so it will give you a lot more options and way to use the slider than you get with this kind of RG play kit slider. And as I mentioned, yeah, you can buy a really cheap slider. You can also buy a little more expensive slider where you will get a remote so you can control the slider as well. And it will still cost less than this RG play kit slider that you get here. So yeah, don't buy it. Anyway, let me know what you think about the slider and the rotator and the clips you saw here in the video. Perhaps you have tried it yourself and you have found it to be better than I did. Then please let me know. I would like to hear how you made it work better than I did, because yeah, we all here to learn. So if you have any thoughts about this, let me know in the comment section and I will get back to you. So if you found any of this information and the video to be useful, then please consider subscribing. It really helps a lot, and also leave a thumbs up so other people can find this video here on YouTube, and I will be really grateful. And all that's left to say now is that I will see you in the next episode. Bye.